Hello again, folks. 2 in 1 day, lucky you. So, on a break from work, I decided to write a letter and put it on Senator Hatch's wall. I figured I'd make a video about it, maybe to put on Twitter and YouTube. But it says, "Dear Senator Hatch, I'm writing to you as I find myself in a position where I'm called to be as patriotic as I can. I joined the Army at 19, where I'm now 36. I was taught 17 years ago that to follow an unlawful order makes me unlawful and culpable in any fallout or destruction caused by it. I find myself in a position where my president, he was supposed to be my commander-in-chief, is nothing more than a puppet for a corrupt system and special interests moved by money alone. I was a combat medic stationed in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I received orders in March of 2001 that I would deploy to Kosovo September 19th, 2001. 8 days before we deployed, September 11th happened. We were attacked on our soil. 8 days later, I found myself in a mainly Muslim country, one that is war-torn and near destitute in many places. Many of my peers were questioning the wisdom of going on a humanitarian mission to a mainly Muslim country after a Muslim just attacked our country. I found myself assaulted by this narrative, but I have tried to be deeply suspicious of my confirmation bias. I fell back on the Christian teachings and philosophy I held dear, that humans have inherent value. I leaned on this philosophy as I was asked to be a driver for our reconnaissance detail to travel to the locations where we plan to give free medical aid to civilians. The next day, we'd bring all our medical equipment and personnel to give what aid we could to civilians who had no other options. People so poor and living in mountainous villages that once the war disrupted the main thoroughfares, that would at least applies to these places. It wasn't much before I showed up to a school that I was informed of the conflict that we disrupted. That the Albanian Muslims were being slaughtered, and we, America, stepped in and stopped the ensuing genocide. This was put into a far more poignant context, as when we rolled up to the school, there were hundreds of children there giving us the warmest reception I could ever imagine. Excited screams of "Americans!" Ah! As if that word meant we are safe, was erupting from all the kids. None of these kids spoke in English, yet they had been told at some point that we, American soldiers, saved them from certain death. I've been boots on the ground in the most heartwarming reception because America did the right thing. We helped keep innocent people from being slaughtered. While this is a very narrow view of the conflict, I have seen the goodness that America stands for and the goodness people outside our country believe in. As a Christian, somebody who believes in the sanctity of life, I implore you to reject the Muslim ban our president has enacted. For too long, Democrats and Republicans have played partisan politics and left regular people to suffer. Let us put politics aside and look at the human condition and limiting human suffering as our endgame. In the case you make an argument, in the case that you make an argument, this makes us safer, or rather that our president does, then I urge you to look at the evidence that radical jihadists want to wage war on Islam. They want the West to cut off the Muslim nations because it increases their despair and makes them more vulnerable to becoming radicalized, providing them the army of terrorists they need. For us to cut off Muslim nations not only is non-Christian, but not only is dehumanizing, but it actually makes us less safe and creates a very dangerous environment. If you are worth your salt and your Christian values are intact, I implore you to verbally strike this down. If, however, you decide to play partisan politics, I will make it my mission to make your job as difficult as possible. I do not put party first, I put people first. I will be the one to dethrone you from your seat in the U.S. Senate. I will be the one to show you the true power of David and Goliath. I, with my intact sense of humanity, morals, and ethical alignment, will expose you for the fraud, Pharisee, and sycophant you really are. Sincerely, Joshua Cameron, U.S. Senate hopeful, U.S. Army veteran, decent human being.